Tech Addicts Podcast 2025, Episode 10, Mobile Meat. This week we're talking about Mobile World Congress 2025. Got a few folding phones from Samsung, Lenovo's solar laptop, Xiaomi doing a big phone, and prepare yourself for 3D printed meat. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I am Gareth and this is Ted. How are you keeping, Ted?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. Can't complain. Right, weather report is that it's blazingly sunny. Not blazingly hot, but blazingly sunny, blue sky, and it feels like it's probably the beginning of blasted summer. Is it hot there too?
No, it's just that nice time where if the sun is out. I sat out in the garden yesterday with a wool jumper on and just enjoyed reading a magazine in the quiet and the crisp. It was just a nice temperature.
Very positive. I'm particularly excited today because last night I found in the freezer a bag with a handful of chips in it. And I thought, after recording today, I'm going to have some chips. I haven't had any chips for months.
Wow, okay. Frozen chips then. You cook them in the air fryer or you cook them in the deep fat fryer or the oven?
I haven't got an air fryer. We talked about that on Whatever Works, our sister podcast, everyone, which you can get to at whateverworks.works or tedsalmon.com. And they keep trying to convince me that I need an air fryer, but we'll see.
I love it. I threw some onion rings into mine last night, just a little handful to go along with the burger for the boy, and they were great. They cooked in, I don't know, 8 minutes or something like that. And
I'm almost
sorry about the seagulls.
I'm almost convinced. Oh yeah, I can hear the seagulls. What fun!
This isn't NAS Compares you're listening to. This is Tech Addicts.
Anyway, so apart from that and apart from the weather, everything's just dandy. I can't have anything to complain about, really. I got a new phone this week, which is a nothing phone, which is quite exciting. I'll talk about that on our other sister podcast, Phone Show Chat, which we'll be recording tonight. But yeah, nothing phone. I'm in the nothing phone, kind of zone, the nothing zone.
All right. Groovy. Well, we will point out one thing is that this is our season finale. We're going to be taking a break from podcasting for the next around about 10 weeks. So we'll be back at the start of June. I know people are going to go, wait, what, June? It is March now. This year is speeding by.
March, April, May, June. Yeah, it's about 10 weeks, isn't it? 10 weeks on, 10 weeks off.
Yeah, so we're going to have a wee break because I have gardening and things like that needs to get done in the brighter weather and stuff like that. The summer's going to be a fiasco, I'll tell you that. But I'll be in a bad mood every Sunday because I should be out cutting the grass, but I'll be having to do that on the Saturday instead, which is a pain in the bum. Yeah, but so this will be the last one for a wee while, but we've got some exciting stuff. Well, I'm currently thinking and lining up exciting things for June for us coming back with a few specials and stuff like that. So there's a lot to look forward to, and hopefully you'll tell your friends and people will tune in for that.
Indeed.
Yes. But this week we're going to be talking mostly about Mobile World Congress, which is a good way to round out the year for the season for us, because there's a great amount of stuff that's come out, and having a look at all the announcements, there's no shortage of people covering certain topics, and whilst we will touch on some of those topics, I wanted to look at some of the lesser talked about bits and pieces along the way, and I figured that would be a nice way to shine a light on some of those that people aren't talking about so much. Yeah?
How very inclusive of you.
quite right. Yeah. So, without further ado, we'll fire off into, because Mobile World Congress happens every year out in Barcelona, for those who don't know, and on all the big tech, well, most of the big tech companies descend on the fantastic city of Barcelona into the Fira Gran Via, which is a big purpose-built building, and show off their latest exciting developments, and give you a hint of where technology is going to go, and bits of hardware that we're going to see, well, possibly see coming out for purchase over the next maybe 12 or 24 months. So there's a few good things that are quite exciting, and one of which we'll start with. I think, Ted, you're probably going to be most excited about TCL's new Nxtpaper 11 Plus, which is a new tablet that offers a larger 11.5-inch display with a 2.2K resolution and 120 hertz refresh rate. Inside of it, there's a MediaTek Helio G100 chipset that offers a flavour of either 2 gigabytes plus 20 or 256 gigabytes of storage, or 12 gigabytes with 256 gigabytes of storage, and it's got support for a stylus, and it includes all kinds of AI features, which is very much the thing at the moment, isn't it? But the AI features for this are kind of interesting. There's a writing assistant, a smart translator, and real-time subtitles. And then there's Google Circle as well, which allows you to circle the search too. And then the tablet has been designed for productivity, more so than anything else, and content consumption as well. But the hardware inside it has an emphasis on reducing eye strain. And they're putting that all together for a nice budget-friendly bundle of about $250. What do you think of this, Ted? Is this one that floats your boat?
What I do like is the Nxtpaper thing. I don't know if have you ever used a Nxtpaper device yet?
I have not, no.
Well, I had the phone in, the 50 Pro, and it really is very, very impressive. There's a certain feel to the glass that is... I don't know how they've done it. They've got layers going on top of the glass, I think, but whatever it is, it just feels like paper. It's just amazing, even more so than any Kindle I've ever used. And you've got to touch it to understand what anyone is banging on about, really, to see what is what. Also, this device is unbelievably thin. I think I'm right in saying it's 5.6 millimeters. I think that's right. 5.6 millimeters thick. No, sorry, 6.5 millimeters thick. And it's just really, really thin and really dinky, and with a big enough screen. It's just an LCD display, but fair enough. LCD displays are better now than they've ever been, and it supports the T Pen, which both you and I have got, so we're straight in with that, even if they don't supply one. What I will say though is that last night I was playing with the OnePlus 12R, and they've just downloaded or made available to 12R users various AI-based features like help for writing stuff, and real-time this, and circle to search this, and translate that. And when you go into the to compose an email, you start writing it, and you can then get the system to rewrite it for you in various ways. And we've seen this before. Google have done this, Samsung have done it, other people have done this, but this was the first time I'd actually had a device that was doing this for me. And it was very clever, and it was smart, and it was really interesting to play with. But after about 15 minutes of doing this and seeing what it was doing, I just couldn't imagine really using it. I don't know why I would want particularly AI to rewrite an email for me. I maybe it's because I'm not in business anymore. Maybe it's because perhaps business people would use these things more. And the same thing is true of Circle to Search, really. Circle to Search, I have used that before because I've had other devices with it on. But beyond testing and playing with it and saying, "Oh yeah, that's clever, isn't it?" You know, the use is very limited, and yet everyone's jumping on board with this, including now TCL by the looks of it, even with Nxtpaper, um, and yeah. So I don't know what you think about that side of it, or whether you think you'd use it.
I don't know. AI is slowly becoming more and more beneficial. Whenever you start thinking about how you can put the application of AI into it, like Circle to Search, I used the other night because I was watching a movie and there was an actor in it who I knew from something, and I didn't want to stop the film to go and look up the person's name to find out where they were from. So I took a picture and I used Circle to Search to draw a circle around their head, and it told me the actor's name.
Right.
And I thought, wow. And then there was a little bit more information as to other films that they'd been in. And I was, oh, right, okay. And it was really quick to do that, rather than pause the film, have a look at the filmography, or go on to IMDb, try and work out who it was, what character they're playing.
Yeah.
So it works that way. And I was thinking, well, AI does have its applications depending on where you are. And we had that conversation with the Jason Bradbury episode that we did a long time ago, where he was telling us that it depends on the single use case, and these companies are just trying to open up and try to capture the imagination of people who are looking for AI. I mean, I'm actually using AI right now for a couple of different things to try and get timestamps for this podcast. I've done it the last 3 shows to see if in YouTube I can put in timestamps, but it's never worked. But yeah, I'll sort it out over the next 10 weeks that I have to play with. But yeah, I think it is a sales thing, absolutely, and it's another thing that they're bundling in with everything. But whenever, I think at the moment most people are a bit afraid of AI because of the cost implication. Because whenever you're using it and you come to rely on it, then after 15 uses, they're like, "Oh, you've had your lot. You're going to need to pay us $20 a month to do this," and you're like, "Oh, right, oh, what? Damn." So you don't know what is actually included, and they can show off all of these things, and then all of a sudden there's a subscription fee, which you've maybe bought the hardware thinking, "Oh, right, okay, it can do that. It can redraft an email for me, but for how long, and what servers are being used, and that kind of thing."
Yeah. At the moment,
So
the OnePlus system and the Motorola system are what you get is included. But yeah, somewhere down the line they could change that. Samsung have already said that they're going to change theirs at the end of 2025. They're going to start charging, and Google charge already for the useful bits.
they do, yeah. And that even whenever if you bought a Pixel years ago, and you started relying on Google Photos, you now no longer have the unlimited storage unless you bought a particular type of Pixel.
Yeah.
So they are hitting you with charges after a few years, whenever everything's up there and it's a bit of a hubbub. It might be more work to get everything out of it and to restructure everything you're doing, to turn around and do something else instead. So they kind of get you. But I guess tech companies have always been doing that in some shape or form.
Do you think that you would use the writing tools though? Do you think the redrafting emails before you send it? Would you bother doing that, or would you just trust your own judgment about what you write?
No, I think I've made so many grammatical, grammatical, and terrible spelling mistakes that I absolutely need as much
Oh
help as
right,
possible.
okay.
And I have done that. I do like autocorrect, but then it does annoy you whenever you're trying to type something like Nxtpaper, Nxtpaper. There's no way autocorrect is going to go, right, okay, we'll just change that, won't we, to God knows what. And you have to go back and change it every time. And it's only whenever you're reading something back that you realize it. And then you have to go back in and start fiddling around with the text that you've already written in that tiny little window. Yeah.
Indeed.
I don't know, it's got an 8,000 milliamp hour battery with 33-watt charging speed, so it's got a lot to offer. I think it's quite exciting. I am a bit curious as to why this technology isn't really available on other platforms. Why Samsung hasn't started investing time in doing something similar to this, if this is so good, and that perplexes me a wee bit.
Yeah, it seems like TCL are the only ones doing this to this degree. This is, incidentally, this is the new 4.0 Nxtpaper technology, which offers updated blue light filtering and a new nano matrix lithography technology for the screen etching process. So anyway, I mean, the point is that they're continuing to develop it and believe in it, and I think I agree with you. It's surprising that no one else is.
Yeah, but it is possible that Samsung will probably look at that one day, but at the moment they're a bit busy making OLEDs that can fold in any way. And what is it? That bend me, shake me, anything you want. That's what Samsung are doing with their screens. They still shatter when you drop them, but yeah, they're foldable now, and they're making new foldable gaming displays. And Ted, you got very excited about a flexible briefcase.
I did on a previous show, yeah. That we looked at that before, and it was just a really interesting concept. You think, you open up your briefcase and there's a screen. But for those that are on the road and travel, it's just a convenient way of carrying it. But I was more interested in the gaming display, the little folding gaming display that looks exactly to me like a Nintendo Switch Lite. And it's even the same yellow colour that I've got. And I thought, yeah, that would be just great. Chuck it in a pocket, fold it up, and away you go. Of course, the crease would have to be really good because, as we know, so far, we can see those creases and we can feel those creases. And if you're applying that to a gaming device, people are not going to want to be running their finger over valleys and troughs and peaks. So, yeah, some way to go. But as you said at the outset, a lot of this stuff is conceptual. No one's saying that any of this is coming out to retail at any time soon, if ever. But it's interesting to watch what they're doing.
Well, it is as well, and where something like this demonstration unit for the Flex gaming is mocked up and things like that. They can just look at the internet and see the enthusiasm from people who are looking forward to this actually arriving. It is, as you say, a really interesting device in that it smashes together two of Nintendo's biggest hits, which is the Switch and the Game Boy Advance SP. And I'm sure Nintendo are just going, we want that.
Yeah.
We could have a 2-for-1 on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, have some money, Samsung. Come into bed with Japan. We want you here.
Yes. But there's also a few super funky foldable concepts that they've put out as well, which the likes of the Galaxy Z Flip with 2 hinges.
What's that about? I can't see what that's about. Can you?
Well, you don't have to go through the anguish of opening the entire phone if you just want to have a quick check of a notification. I think this is missing the screen that is on the front of it is on the Z Flip as we have at the moment. So if you're sitting on the desk, you can open up part of it and see notifications and things like that, and then close it when you don't want other people to be able to see them or don't want to be disturbed. It reminds me an awful lot of, you remember the Sony Ericsson P100? So the P100, the P110? It was a touchscreen device that came with a stylus, but it also had a keyboard that you could flip down.
Oh, that's the P900 series, yeah.
The P900 was it? Sorry, yeah. I have some sitting over there, but they're out of. Well,
there was also the P800. I think the P800 was first. We spoke about that on Bygone Beauties on PSC, but the flip down keyboard was, I think, taken a step further with the P900. I had the P910i of that range. But anyway, do carry on.
Oh, there's one which has a T9 on the flip down keyboard as well, which I have over there, but I can't reach
Right.
for here. But you flip it down, and then you've got a full screen in behind it,
Hmm.
and it allowed you to interact a great deal more. So it took the bygone era absolutely, and made it a bit more modern. And that's kind of what this does as well, where you can fold the keyboard out whenever you want to use it and have a dedicated keyboard. It looks really quite cool, and gives you lots of options for which gaming isn't really sort of included there, but it is for the browser. It is a bit of an odd one, yeah, but it is more just showing off. Look what we can do.
And I
We're
suppose
better than you.
leaving part of the screen visible at all times could be for notifications or a clock or an always-on display or something.
Yeah,
But it is then exposed, of course, and not protected like the rest of the screen will be.
but then you can flip it back over whenever you don't want it exposed. But
Yeah,
it means they don't have to put on that second screen that the Z Flip has.
yeah. Really quirky though, isn't it? Very interesting idea.
It is, but I'm not actually looking at it thinking that is that actually a screen? Or that whenever you flip the lower bit up, could it be a screen? I don't know. Well, we'll see. I guess you had to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. Xiaomi had some pretty exciting stuff as well. We had the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, which was the big boy that excited many people. And I'm sure Ted, you're looking at this going, "Ooh, wouldn't mind one of them." And it's due to come out. They said on February the 27th, which is already passed.
Yeah, some people in the group have got these already, and
Oh, have they?
they're putting up photographs of what they've taken with them. And generally, the reaction from those that have got them in hand is very positive. However, I watched a few YouTube videos last night of people, not rubbish content creators, but actually fairly respected ones who are quite thoughtful about it, and many of them were saying that this is really not much of an upgrade. That
Oh,
the Xiaomi 14 Ultra was in some ways superior. Focusing on the camera, for example, um, they were talking about the fact that the so-called variable aperture has disappeared this year, for example, and one of them was demonstrating what that means in practice. He had two of these devices together, and he showed what it was going to be lacking through control of depth of field because of that variable aperture being missing. Now, those are extreme cases, of course, but there are also other people putting these side to side and saying, look, this is the photography that's coming out of the 15, and it's not as good as the 14 was. And there are various things about the 14 that people are highlighting and saying it was better before. Why didn't they leave it alone? It's a huge device as well. It's very, very big, but I think I think they said it was the biggest Xiaomi device they'd seen, phone anyway. But yeah, I think there's kind of mixed reaction to this. Yes, the 1-inch sensor is great, so you've got opportunities with that. But that was also true of last year's, and yeah, mixed reaction.
yeah. See, I think that the actual camera circle, the bulge, is in diameter, radius kind of affairs, slightly larger than a tin of pop or a tin of beer.
Yes, yes.
And that just gives you an idea of how big this really is. It's maybe even the size of a tin of baked beans or something, possibly.
Certainly a big device. I think what's the screen dimension? 6.73. Well, actually, it's not. That's not as big as for example, the Samsung Galaxy Ultra devices, which are 6.8. But it looks bigger, I think, because of that bulbous camera thing going on, and also, as we said, I think on the last show, they've made it look as much as they can like a Leica camera, which I like that styling. I think that's nice, and it is very camera-esque. But yeah, lovely screen apparently. Really, really good battery life. They're reporting. Good IP68 rating. They reckon there's going to be 4 major OS updates from 15, so 16, 17, 18, 19, which is positive. Not as good as some others, maybe, but it's still very positive. And the 4.3 times optical zoom, which is a strange kind of number to land in the middle of. So another review I was watching was saying that the stereo speakers are really, really good as well, which is good, and also the ultrasonic under display fingerprint scanner. So yeah. Wireless charging, fast wireless charging. Well, if you've got the right, with the right cable and the right brick, but yeah, there's a lot to like about it, but I was just a bit concerned about those that were saying this is no better. This is not an upgrade.
Right, it's more a spiritual successor, perhaps, with AI baked in.
No doubt, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a modular concept for Xiaomi's plan to destroy the camera bump, which sounds familiar. Actually, I think
Yes.
Sony did this maybe
They
a few
did,
years
yeah.
ago.
I have one
You
of
probably
those.
had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 2 of them. There was 2 lenses that Sony did. One was a 10 times zoom, and one was a 3 times zoom. I think I'm right in saying, and I had both of them in, and they were really nifty. But they had the sensor built into them, and presumably, I don't know, is the sensor built into these lenses? I'm not quite sure how.
I think it is. Yeah.
It is,
Given
right.
where it doesn't cover the sensor on the phone, and
No.
there's pogo pins that actually go into the phone itself. So
Yeah, it must be
I
transferring
don't see
the
how
data.
it would. You couldn't do that through Bluetooth or something like that, or Wi-Fi,
I don't know,
or
but
Pogo even.
again, this is a concept device. No one is saying
Yeah.
that anyone's going to make this happen. But yeah, it's different to the Sony in the sense that it does, like you say, it clacks into position with magnets and pogo pins, and it feels more like an addition to the camera. With the Sony one, it always, you were kind of bolting it onto the camera with clamps and stuff, and it was all a bit kind of, hit and miss. But with the Sony, you could take the thing away from the camera and use it remotely from the phone, and use it
Yeah.
remotely. I'm not sure if you can do that with this one, but
No, I didn't see. I had to read through it earlier, and I'm just looking at the bottom here, and where I didn't quite get to because I got a bit bored, to be honest. But it does say that it could potentially support various specialized lenses and other magnetic accessories, such as chargers, power banks, and game controllers,
Right.
while maintaining a balanced design with a large camera bump. Without a large camera bump, even. Crucial part there. I don't know. I I think these things have come and gone, and it's gonna. If it didn't work with Sony, I don't know that Xiaomi are going to have any more success. I'd say my money would be much more placed in Sony's hand than Xiaomi whenever it comes to doing something like this. What would you do?
don't know. Yeah, so you would like to think so, but then Xiaomi are really aggressively pricing stuff. But, well, not so much with this phone. I think it's like 1,400 quid, isn't it? This phone. But anyway, they're out there and they're doing stuff and they are innovating and moving stuff forward. Whereas you could argue that Sony, particularly in terms of phones, are kind of sitting back on their laurels and not really producing very much and moving the envelope forward and not even offering customers like us, decent lengths of upgrades and what have you. But I know what you're saying because of the Sony name historically, but Xiaomi are they're doing really well, I think, and they're convincing lots of people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens as they develop this more.
It will. You
So,
missed one out there, incidentally. We had a story in there about the Lenovo solar
oh yeah,
PC concept, which I looked at this, and this is basically a laptop with on the back of it, on the back cover, which no one ever uses because it's just the back cover. It's covered in solar panels. And again, it's a concept. But when I first saw this, I thought, well, why is that not been done before. It's such a logical choice. Why wouldn't anyone have done this? It's just it makes total sense to use that space for topping up your battery. If you live in a hot country, it's obviously going to be better with lots of sun. But we've got history in this country even of running, topping things up like.
We've got history of sun in this country.
Yeah. Well, we have today, actually. There's no history involved. We've got sun today. If I had my laptop with solar panels on the back out today, it would be doing very nicely. But yeah, solar panels can work. Depends what the draw is and what have you. But yeah, it just makes total sense, doesn't it? Don't you think?
Well, no, I do absolutely. I got the feeling whenever you can't use it whilst the solar panels are charging.
Oh right.
I got that feeling. I don't think it's confirmed anywhere, but I can't remember what made me think of it. Well, I think was it your man did it on the Friday night takeaway. I think.
Oh okay. I haven't seen that this
and
week.
he might have suggested that. I can't remember. I've seen a few things about it over the last few days, but it would surprise me if you could use it whilst using it. If that makes sense. But it's actually a really nice looking laptop. I quite fancy the design of the sides and things like that. So this would be a good throw in to boot.
And the blue keyboard. I like the blue keyboard. That's very cool.
It is, yeah. Yeah,
But yes,
no, I'd have one of these if someone wanted to buy me one.
I think it depends on how efficient the panels are. Like I say, if you live in Cairo, then it's going to be a different story to if you live in Barrow-in-Furness, isn't it? So, it just will depend on that and how efficient they are and what it does and how, and indeed if they ever bring it to market.
Well, I think the specs that they're looking at, or the running time they're looking at, is an hour of videos for 20 minutes of sunlight.
Oh right, in Cairo.
Yeah, they didn't say where. Yeah, but that's pretty good. It can harvest through as little as 0.3 watts of light to help top off its battery.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's always going to be a top up thing, isn't it? It's not going to be a replacement, but it will help.
Yes, it will, and it'd be great if you could actually use it whilst you're using it, and maybe even plug things in to be able to charge other things or other things. Sorry, I'll try to pronounce my words quite well. Off the solar panel as well. If it's generating that much battery power for the laptop, once it gets to full. If you were to plug your phone into it, it'd be nice that it would charge your phone too.
Yes, indeed.
Could be a one-stop shop.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Moving on to one of the most popular phones in the world, and that's the Samsung Galaxy A26 range, or the A range, I suppose. The A26, the A36, and the A56, which are the 5G versions. These are mid-range devices that were released in the US and the UK with different timelines and configurations depending on the model and region that you are looking at. The key upgrades tend to include like glass backs and an improved camera system, a higher refresh rate on the displays. And we're going to see the 26 and the 36 being available in the US on March the 26th, and then the 28th for the A36. It's getting hang on a second. Right, the A26 is coming out on March 26th. The A36 is coming out on March 28th, and the A56 will be coming out later in the year.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
At $500 as well. So, the A26 is $300, the A36 is $400, and then the A56 is $500. So, it's an interesting series of phones that I think we're going to see an awful lot of people rocking, because I know they give these out in my work as work phones.
Oh right.
I'm not surrendering my iPhone for one of these, to be honest. But they've got 6.7 inch Super AMOLED Full HD displays with the Exynos 1380 inside them, with 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 or 256 gigabytes of RAM with 5,000 milliamp hour batteries. Cameras IP67 ratings and Android 7. There's not much in them from generation to generation to warrant the big price difference between each of them, I wouldn't say. Is there anything that particularly caught your eye?
Well, I think part of the cost is the fact that One UI 7 is included from the get-go. Android 15, One UI 7, which only the S25 range has got, apart from these devices so far. Everyone else is in beta, of course. So yeah, and I think they're after Motorola here. Motorola and Samsung, well, Lenovo and Samsung are kind of vying with each other for this territory. So much so, this morning I posted a story about the possibility of the upcoming Edge 60 device from Motorola having a built-in stylus. So, Motorola are after Samsung there, and Samsung are after Motorola in this mid-range here, to get more devices out into people's hands, and a range of prices and a range of specs, and there are some common features as you've just described, like the size of the screen and the AMOLED, and the chipset's different. The top one's got the Exynos 1580 coming with it. The only Snapdragon in there is the middle one, the 36, and that's a 6 Gen 3, which again is a capable chipset we've seen elsewhere. But the lower one has got a lesser Exynos chipset, 1380. So that's a bit different. The build is different as well. The most expensive one's got aluminium build, and the other one's a plastic. But I don't think that really matters. And there are some differences with the cameras as well. And yeah, stereo speakers on the two more expensive ones, and not a mono one on the lesser one. Side-mounted fingerprint scanner, which tends to go with the territory of cheaper devices now, and sure enough, here we are with it only being on the lesser one, as is micro SD card slot expansion for storage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no wireless charging in sight for anyone. But yeah, that's what they're after, I think, is that mid-range, and they're hitting it hard and sensibly offering people three different price points on what they can afford.
Yeah. No, they're good looking phones. They've proved to be big sellers over the years, so well, they'd be mad not to. Although it kind of ruins their naming convention in that, we've got the S25 coming out in the S20 in the year 2025. This is the A26, and they've gone with the A36 and 56, which should be released in 11 years and
2056.
Yeah, however far away from that is from now. That's 21 years? No, 26. No, I don't know. Yes. Something like that.
31.
Of course, yes, it's 2025. Yeah, right, yes. So they should do that, but they're not. Anyway, we'll have forgotten about them by then, won't we?
Yeah.
The last phone we're going to have a wee chat about is the Infinix, which is the Zero Mini Trifold concept. And this is a potentially interesting looking phone that can be, obviously it's a trifold, so it can be folded in a number of different ways. A bit like that Samsung Z Flip we were talking about earlier. But they show it being used in various different ways. One of which I will point out is someone takes it on a biking trip and they use it folded out a wee bit on their handlebars, showing their where to go, their Google Maps, so to speak, and then it shows it on their lapel as an action camera, sort of following where they're going. So it's an interesting idea in that it's a jack of all trades in that it's a phone and it does all of these things, but it's also an action camera too. What did you make of this?
Well, in this second to last phone we'll be looking at in today's show, I was more interested in this one because it's I'll tell you the one that I was more interested in. If you look at the link in the GSM Arena images, I think that middle size is spankingly good. Now, when you open this phone right up to its full height, it's going to be unwieldy, tall, hard to use in one hand. But shrink it down to that middle size, and that's going to be almost like a pixel fold screen where you'll be able to reach everywhere on the screen and it will just work beautifully. If I had this phone, I think that most of the time I'd be using it in that mode without any doubt at all. But yes, you're right. If you want to then make it even smaller for putting onto whatever, and there's a picture here of someone, a hiker, with it on his on attached to his rucksack and that sort of thing. Lots of different ways in which it can be used. I personally have never seen an Infinix phone in the west of the world, so I don't know what hope there might be, even if this is made and produced and released, of us ever seeing anything like this. But again, really interesting concept, and it looks like it's been well thought out, and it'll be quite useful.
Right. But
But
where we have the trifold concept image, so tell me what way it folds. There's 3/3 top, middle, and bottom. Why? And the bottom one obviously folds up behind the middle one,
yeah,
so that you're looking at the top 2/3.
yes,
Then what happens?
then you can fold the
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can then fold the top bit across the front of the screen, and you still can see the bottom bit, like in the third picture.
Oh, so you have to flip it 180 degrees to get like a one bit, and that would leave the camera pointing out the other direction. Ah, I see. Right, okay.
I think so, but there's not a
So
video linked here.
looking at it from the side, if we're looking at the left-hand side of the device, so the camera is pointing out to the left, you turn the bottom bit up to the left and it meets the back, and then you turn the top down to the right and it meets the front.
And then you
Right.
still have the screen that you've folded onto the back pointing outwards, so you can yeah. So the top fold the screen on the top folds into the screen of part two, and
Yeah.
then part three folds back, and you've still got that third aspect ratio. So the part that I like the best is where you've folded the bottom bit back under, and you've got that middle bit with the two panels, and I think that, as I said, will be the killer kind of dimension for me.
Yeah, and I suppose it works out quite fairly as well, because whenever you have it open fully, you've got all three screens, and then whenever you want it in the smaller form, then you've got the top screen and the middle screen being used, and then whenever you want it in the smallest form, you've got the bottom screen being used. So it's not that
Indeed.
it particularly uses one screen more so than any other. So
Yeah,
it's a nice idea.
it is. Yeah, and if it's sat
But
on
the
your
charging
desk.
thing is way up the very top. The USB Type C is
Oh
right
yeah,
at
so
the
it
very
is.
top on the left.
Yeah. I suppose they had to put it somewhere. Oh,
They
yeah.
did,
They had
yes.
to put it somewhere in order that whatever, um, whichever way you're folding it, you can still get a cable to it. Yeah.
But the bottom and the top are still on display whenever it's folded fully down.
Um,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
yeah. But you couldn't put it on the bottom because you might have the bottom folded up round the back, and then you wouldn't be able to get the cable into it. See what I mean?
No, but if you fold the bottom up around the back and then the top down the bottom, or top down to the front, then it's still then all surfaces are available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they put it there, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Well done.
Yes. Now for
But
the last phone.
oh, I forgot about this because yeah, it's kind of a phone that we've already discussed because it's been announced that it's coming soon, but we're seeing a little bit more of the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge. However, the Tecno Spark Slim is a concept smartphone that is touted to be the slimmest device with a 5,200 milliamp hour plus sized battery. and it measures in at a mere 5.75 millimeters thickness. The phone is made from like recycled aluminium, and it features a 6.78-inch AMOLED display that's capable of doing a 1.5K resolution with 144 hertz refresh rate and 4,500 nits of peak brightness. There's also cameras and things like that, 50 megapixel dual rear cameras and a 13 megapixel front camera, and there's battery technology and chipsets and all that kind of thing which are built in, but they haven't told us what they're going to be, and there's no pricing yet, but they are looking to take on Samsung with their very, very thin Galaxy S25 Edge that still hasn't arrived yet. And it's a small company that we've never heard of, so it's worth pointing out. Ted, what did you make of this?
If you lived in the Far East, you'd have heard of Tecno. Again, it's another Far East firm that produces stuff for the East, and just nothing ever seems to get to the West. Yeah, and the other thing I'd like to point out, I've provided another link in the show notes there to the Moto Z from 2016, which was 5.2 millimeters thick or thin. So all these claims about
what size was the battery?
The battery was
2,600 milliamp hours. This has got 5,200.
Of course, of course, of course. I'm just saying that this is not the thinnest phone ever produced, and I remember.
And neither are they.
and I remember the Moto Z, which was just incredibly. I could not believe how thin it was. Of course, the Moto Z was built for Moto Mods, which was part of the thing, but yeah, this you're right. This Spark Slim, as they call it, it just looks gorgeous. That side profile photograph of it with somebody's hand holding it, it just looks, all the curved edges. I still like curved edges. All the curved edges and that thin, absolutely lovely. I think that's what, there's a lot of talk about. We don't need thin phones, it's not needed, not necessary, but actually when you see something like that, an object of desire, it just looks gorgeous, and you just think, hang the practicalities, it looks so nice, I want one.
Yes, you do absolutely, but there is one fatal flaw here that I think is worth pointing out, and just to piss all over this, is the fact that there's no actual device being shown. It's all artist concepts, which anyone can drum together, disappear off down to Mobile World Congress and go, look what we're going to do. Whether or not it arrives this year or next year is anyone's guess.
Of course.
But Samsung and Motorola are sitting there with devices in front of people that people can touch and feel within reason. And this isn't. It's an art. I
just wanted to make the point really that everyone is saying we don't need thin phones, but actually when you see one, it really is. It looks so premium and lovely. You think, yeah.
You just wanted to mention the Moto Z, didn't
you? Yay!
Any opportunity, then vote Moto Z. Yep. Right, the last thing we're going to chat about is 3D printed meat, because Nova Meat have showcased a 3D printer that prints meat based on plant fiber, which replicates the. Sure, replicates isn't in inverted commas, which should be done. Taste, texture, and nutritional benefits of real meat. The technology is aimed at reducing the environmental impact of meat consumption, while primarily for commercial use. The 3D printed meat has been reported to mimic real deal in taste. I don't know about this. Although I'm very, very excited about the idea. Imagine one day we have the benefits of being able to have plant-based food that exactly mimics the dirtiest, greasiest burger, and you can sit down and eat that and have no worries about it affecting your cholesterol or your belt line, and that's a beautiful future for us. But right now we've got Nova Meats printing bits of cardboard.
Those apparently, according to this article on XDA, those who tasted it and tried it kind of thought it tasted okay. That it did taste what it was supposed to taste of. So I suppose a
Okay.
bit like what's that stuff called? Toku? No, not
Spam.
toku.
Oh, tofu.
Tofu. That's the one. Tofu, and that other one that Linda McCartney's involved in. I think.
Oh, corn, isn't it?
Corn. Yeah, that's right. Now those things just don't taste like meat at all. You've got to add taste to them, in my humble opinion. To make them taste like it. But apparently, according to this is different. You don't need to add anything to it. If you tell it to make you a lamb shank, it will taste like lamb.
Well, to
Anyway.
be entirely honest, I think the appeal of walking into a supermarket and picking up their simple priced burger. I don't know, go to Tesco and get their yellow label or white label burger and take it home and cook it. I don't. It tastes so poor and appalling and contains so much water and fat and things like that that they couldn't do anything worse than that at the moment. So, regardless of what this is, having a look at some of the background images of how they print it, they've got three nozzles that are printing fat, blood, and muscle.
Oh dear.
In various different volumes. I
Oh
think
dear.
that's
Oh
just
dear.
it's an image, but I'll stick it on the show notes poster just for shits and giggles. But that's what it's got to be able to do. But if it's going to be plant-based fibers, then it's got a lot of work to do to be able to make that taste acceptable.
I'd try it.
Of course, you'd try anything,
Yeah.
and that's not within reason, folks. He'd try it.
Animal, vegetable, or mineral.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I do think in the future it's gradually going to take off whenever they get it right. But right now, it's such in its infancy that I don't think I'm going to get too excited about it. But hopefully, whenever our kids are having kids, those kids will be able to chow down on plant-based stuff that tastes like barbecue spare ribs off the barbecue,
And live till they're
smothered in
150.
marinade. Nom, Which it's a nice day, so I could try and get the barbecue out. Ooh.
Ah.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the news. Any bants this week? Anything?
Ooh, I'm looking forward to my chips now you've said that. I forgot about my chips. No, I've got nothing to bant about today.
No, me neither. I still haven't got to the point where I'm actually doing anything with the machine. I've got the machine booting, or the XP machine. I've got it booting, and I haven't put in the SSD. I haven't done anything with it this week. It's been very busy, very busy. So we'll just go straight into the bargain basement,
Okie dokie.
where we'll start with you.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's one of these Anchor Prime charging docking station thingies. One of which we've spoke about before is on its side. This one's upright, and it's got that really funky display thingy, which they're all doing now. Ugreen are doing it as well. 14 ports with 160 watt maximum output. Presumably that means with all of them, not just one. It's been reduced from a 200 quid to 150. I still do think that the sideways one is probably a better option in many ways because of the way it looks, and it's got clever software going on inside. But that's now, with this one reduced, more expensive. So yeah, I quite like the look at this.
Yeah. Mentioning the sideways one, I've just noticed that the 200 watt 6-port GAN is down from 80 quid to 65 quid as well. So Anchor must be having a wee bit of a sale at the moment.
I think they are.
Yeah, you should click through Ted's link and have a wee look about and see what you fancy and buy yourself all of them.
Lovely.
Nice. That's yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, sorry. Next up is a speaker. This is from Creative.
Woohoo!
And I do like these the mini compact under monitor sound bars, although I have ordered one in the past and it was absolute cack. And I think you and I had an argument over it, that Razer one. It was god
Oh
awful.
yeah.
But this is the Creative Stage SE mini compact under monitor soundbar with Bluetooth 5.3 USB digital audio, and it goes on a PC or a mobile. It doesn't say Mac, mind you, but it does say mobile. And it's what, about 140 or 41 centimeters by 82 or 8 centimeters by 6 centimeters. So it's not terribly large. It's got 2-watt speakers inside of it. Two 2-watt speakers, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Which they somehow work out is 24 watts of peak power. Good maths there. And it's reduced in price way down. It's gone down from 30 quid to 27 quid. But there's also a 10% off voucher that can take it down even lower than that again.
25 quid.
Yeah. Do you fancy one of these? You use one of these, don't you?
I
Or
don't.
something like that.
I've got my Marshall speaker now.
Yes.
So I tend to use that for my PC use, but this does look nice. I do like the dial on the side of it, and also you've got 3.5mm out, which means you can just kind of bypass the whole system if you're doing a podcast or something. And it's also, as you say, a Bluetooth speaker in the mix. It looks really nice, and that is an amazing price, isn't it?
It is. There's actually a range of these. This is the Stage SE Mini, but there's also the Stage SE, which is the bigger version that has 48 watts of power output.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the Stage Air V2, which is only 20 watts, but it's smaller.
That Stage SE looks interesting. That's got a 20% voucher off the 50 quid as well.
Oh.
That looks probably preferable actually if you want to spend a bit more money.
Yes. If
nice.
you want to spend more money, that is the better thing to spend money on, or a better way to spend your money. Buying cheaper things spends less.
Yeah.
Next up.
Next up is you got two in a row here.
Do I? I didn't put that in.
You must have done. Didn't you? All right.
No.
Okay. Let's just see. Oh, sorry. I thought it was something else. Yes. This week I was trying to review this hot water bottle, which is a rechargeable hot water bottle for whatever works, and I couldn't work out what power was going through it and what power was going through it, and how much of my electricity it was using up, and it didn't quite do what it was saying on the tin. So I thought, right, how can I test to see what happens? I know, I'll either get one of Gareth's super duper tapo singing, all dancing, app driven monitors with a smart plug, or I'll just get something simple and manual. And so I thought, right, I'll go simple and manual. And this little plug has been reduced. It's been reduced from 16 quid to 10 quid. And basically you plug it into the wall and then plug your device in, and it tells you what wattage it's using, or what voltage and what current, and what, if you want to be bothered with it, you can put the unit cost of electricity in and see what it's been you're using in money as well. But anyway, this looks like just the ticket, and it's 38% off. So go and buy one.
All right. Even though the tapos are, I think they're $7.99, and then whenever you put the unit price into one of them, you can send it out across the network to all of them, and then go and analyze everything on your network. And then if you bring up something like Home Assistant, you can get plugins that do an analysis of your whole house and where electricity is.
Stop sabotaging.
Less.
Stop sabotaging my affiliate link, you bastard.
No, I have two of these. I have two similar ones that were sent to me. It was a thing. They were getting bloggers to do. I can't remember who it was. They got a bunch of different bloggers to analyze their electric usage and sent them out these kits.
Yep.
To compare, and they filmed us doing a bit to camera, and then I don't think it ever went out. I don't know. Yeah, they are very, very handy. I have my two down in the garage, just for seeing how much is being used by a little heater that's down there because it doesn't quite reach the Wi-Fi. Simple. All right, next up is the Samsung Galaxy Smart Tag 2. I quite like these. I have a few of these now. I put them in the cars so that if anyone was to nick the car, I'd be able to find the car. And my son has one, so I can find out where he is in coming homeness. And it's down in price from, wow, £35 down to £15 and 47p. I can't say I've ever seen it at £35. But I've bought them in the past at $19.99 and $17.99.
I'm going to sabotage your item because you can get four. You can get four for £50.
Yes, and if you click through the link there, you can. It's reduced by 55% down from £110 to £49 and 89p. But I do wonder if people need that many. I think just getting one and having a test and see if. Because you can actually use the same thing over and over again in different places, like do it for a week in this and a week in that, and you might not need it all the time.
I use all four of mine.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
What do you use them for? What's your case scenarios?
My dad's car keys, my dad's house keys, my scooter, and my house keys.
Okay, and have you ever had call to use it, like to find them? Because this is the one thing, in an emergency, I haven't had an emergency where I need to find mine.
Yeah. I sometimes have he won't answer his phone, and I wonder where he is. And if he goes out without his car, he's got one on his house keys, so he'll always have his house keys with him. And if he goes out with the car, then he's got the car keys, and so he'll have that. So I can always see where he is. But yeah, I mean, you could argue that the four is between two people in that scenario. The scooter, I put it in there like you described, because if it gets nicked, you'll have some idea. Although anyone with half a brain will probably find it in the box on the back.
I did actually come across a bit of a problem with these, and it comes to my son. He doesn't, for the life of him, he won't take his mobile phone into school. And I guess that's kind of a good thing in a way, but he's just heart scared of losing it and me going through him for losing it. So he doesn't take it. But he has one of these on his keyring and he gets the bus home. So it'll ping off a Samsung phone of someone else that's on the bus.
Yeah.
And that'll generally be another school kid. But what they do is they connect to the Wi-Fi on the bus. And whenever it pings off that Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi on the bus is actually centrally located at the bus depot.
Oh, right. Okay.
Bus station. So it shows that my son is at the bus station,
Right,
as opposed to trundling across the dual carriageway or the ring road around my city. So it's not terribly useful, because I thought he got the first time I used it, I thought he got the bus and ended up at the bus station in town. And I drove down. Well, I didn't actually drive down there, but I was on the cusp of driving down there because he didn't have his mobile phone for me to see. And I thought, oh, is he abandoned at the bus station now? And then he came walking around the corner from the wrong bus stop that he got off, and said, oh, sorry, I got off at the wrong bus stop whenever we first started taking him to school. So, yeah, it wasn't that useful and caused a little bit more concern than it should have done because of the way technology is.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, so if your dad takes the bus, just be mindful. He might not be abandoned at the bus station. He might just be around the corner.
Yeah, that's interesting. And his phone, I suppose. Oh yeah. He does get the bus sometimes, and that is useful when he's got his house keys with him. But yeah. Good point. I never thought of that. Well done.
Yeah. Oh,
right, that's
useful for something.
Yes, indeed. That Steam. Do you remember that Stream Deck Plus that when it first came out? It was 200 quid. This is made by Elgato, and it was 200 quid forever. And eventually, it started getting a few sales coming down. At the moment, it's 50 quid off. And for anyone that wants to play with one of these, it really does look the dog's bollocks. It's a bit like my XL version with 32 buttons on it, except it's got some dials as well. We've spoken about it on the show, and it's got an LCD panel, which means that you can use the strip of panel to do other stuff on as well. I use mine, as you know, for just shortcuts and stuff. But if you were a creator of any sort, then this will be very handy. And apparently, I've never actually had one in my hand, but apparently they're really, really classy, really nicely made, and the twirly knobs are like something off of Marshall.
Yeah, I've loved this since it first came out. Generally, the white one gets reduced, but I did see the black one was reduced back in January, and Keith was confirming that for me now. But the two of them are on sale, at the moment. But the black one's the one you'd want. Is only £7 off, whereas this is down to 155. It is tempting in white. You could paint it.
I'd be okay with white. I mean, it's a bit Apple-ish, I suppose, but I'd be alright with white.
Yeah. I wonder how it works on Linux Mint. Or is it a pain in the bottom?
No, it works fine, apparently. I checked that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, there's different... you might have to jump through some hoops to get it to work, a bit like the Vocaster 1. Anyway, moving on. The Anker 675 USB Type-C docking station is something we've discussed in the past.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really swish little device that you can set your monitor on top of and utilize, and I suppose you slide your keyboard underneath it, but it's got all of the USB connections built into it that hooks up to your computer, and there's even a Qi charging mat as well, or pad that allows you to charge your phone from it. So it's a laptop riser that has tons of stuff built into it. That you can play away with. It's down in price from £250 to £190 or £198, and it's really quite nice. I take it you're wanting one of these. Are you going to buy one later today?
I've always wanted one of these, and I just can't find a way that it's going to fit into my life, and I don't really need it. But then I look at the ports, and it's even got 3.5mm audio out, and you look at these pictures of all the ports all over it, and so many ways of using it. And my monitor is massive. There's no way my monitor would sit on top of this thing. So I haven't got a use for it. I really, really want a use for it.
Well, it has two USB Type-Cs, a USB Type-A. I think there's two. One of them is maybe a super speed, I'm not sure. And then it's got an SD card for micro SD and full-size SD card. It's got a headphone socket, and then there appears to be a power button on the one side, whereas on the other side you have the Qi charging mat. Underneath it, you have... I can't see a good shot of it that gets in close enough, but I can see there's definitely an Ethernet port, a USB Type-A, a USB Type-C, I think that is as well, and then there's another 3.5 possibly, or some kind of small round hole under there. Maybe that's power.
That's power. Yeah, that's power.
Yeah, that would make sense. And then there's another USB Type-C beside that.
Presumably the USB-C is the one that you plug into your computer.
Yes.
And you've got to power it because you want to be able to use all the ports all over it. It's really lovely, isn't it?
And it also has a cable tidy underneath it as well for winding cables around to get rid of them off your desk. There's all kinds of arguments you could make for having one of these. And even whenever you look at some of the pictures that people have of them using it, as awful and cluttered as their desk appears to be, imagine how badly cluttered some of those might have been.
If this was twice the size, I could put it under my monitor, but it's just too small for me to consider it.
Curses. What you could do is you could have your monitor on its stand and put the stand in underneath it. And then push your monitor up so it's at the highest point that it can sit. and then you can use it as a flat surface for your speaker and stuff like that.
How wide is it? 54 centimetres. How wide is 54 centimetres? 30.
It's slightly
50.
more than 53 centimeters.
Oh yeah, my desk is 60, and oh yeah, I suppose you could do that. I could put it underneath. No, stop tempting me.
But I'm not thinking of that as well. Like, I have mine on my monitor sitting on an arm, a support arm thing. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head. And I could put this over the support arm, so you don't actually see that there, and then I could put everything else on top of this. So I could.
You need it. You do need it. 22 centimetres deep it is, which makes it like about that. Yeah, it's bigger than I first thought, actually.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's tempting.
Very, very tempting.
Well, I've accidentally closed the window because I'm not going to spend £189 on that. No, I can't.
You can't. Neither of us can.
But see, on the 1st of June when we're back, there's a possibility there might be a wee bit of an update going, this bloody thing doesn't work well. I don't know. What's next, Ted?
Right, my last one today is the phone that I referred to earlier. Well, it's not actually. It's a CMF Phone 1, which is the 128 gigabyte 8 gig version. You don't seem to be able to get the 256 gig version in the UK. I think it's available in India. Anyway, this has been reduced. It often is. At the moment, it is. It's got 40 quid off. It's 179 quid, down from 209. And as I say, it often is. You can get it in 3 colours, and it's a big phone, but it's really, really nice. I've been enjoying using it and comparing it with the 2A, the Nothing Phone 2A, and getting all sorts of peripherals for it. I wrote about it in the MeWe group in PSC last night, if anyone's interested to go and track that down. And yeah, 40 quid off.
It's a really nicely designed device with some exposed screws, which really, really sell it, I think.
Yeah, and you can take the back off and replace it. That thing in the bottom right hand corner is a nerdy screw that you can put a lanyard on there instead, or a stand for your phone, or a wallet thingy on the back. As usual with Nothing stuff, they have kind of thought it out quite nicely, and it's very appealing.
Yeah, that was a good looking phone.
Be warned. The one thing that annoys everyone is that there's no NFC with this model. So paying in Tesco is out.
Unless you have a watch or something like that can do it for you.
No, watch won't.
No.
Unless it's paired up with another device, but it won't work with this one. But you could always get your debit card out.
You could, and get a case that has space for it. That's what I remember people used to do, so they could tap to pay. Yeah, cool. Well, the very last one here is 4 litres of Heinz tomato ketchup that is on sale. It's down from £17 to £14 and 40p.
4 litres.
Yeah, that could go quite nicely over your 3D printed meat and give it some flavour.
Oh, my chips.
Yes, your chips. But it's not going to arrive in time. Your chips will be cold by then.
No, that's true. How would you use 4 litres of ketchup?
Well, you could just drink it.
But do you think that would your household use 4 litres before it goes off?
Yes.
Oh, wow. You're a ketchup family, are you?
No, but there is one person here who, annoyingly, can chew through a large amount of ketchup in a month.
Right.
I think 4 litres might last 2 months, but
wow,
it's worth trying.
Oh, look, there's all sorts of other sauces here.
Sources or sauces?
Sauce. Oh, there's all sorts of. There's a picture here on Amazon where high-end sauces I've never even heard of, never seen them.
Well, it's Heinz 57. There's 57 different varieties.
4 litres of ketchup. Wow.
Oh, well, you can do subscribe and save as well, and it'll reduce it down if you've got if you've got 3 things or 5 things going at once. It'll be £12.24. So it's great if you've got family.
I found in my my dad's cupboard recently, about a month ago, I found a bottle of tomato ketchup, and I opened it, and it was brown. Inside, it was brown, almost black, and I thought, "What is this? Has someone actually put HP sauce in it or something?" And no, it was the ketchup that over the course of about, I don't know, a year probably, it's turned browny black. It's disgusting.
Nice. I remember when I came home from working abroad, my grandmother was still alive, and I went round, and I was staying at her house for the night. And she said, "Oh, we'll sit down and we'll have a wee party. We'll watch some TV, and I've got some chocolates and things." And I was like, "Oh, fair enough." And I sat down, and she went to the fridge and she got out a wee beer, and she gave me a wee beer. It was one of my granddad's beers, and this was 2001, and the wee beer was dated best before 1987. Oh, thanks, but I might not drink that. Thanks, Gran. Yeah. So there we go. Well, I guess that about brings us to the end of the show and the end of the season.
Yeah.
So we will be back. What date is that? I said the 1st of June. Yeah, the 1st of June is the assigned target date for us to return.
The homecoming.
Yeah, because in the next season, there's actually going to be a 1 week gap because I'll be up in Norway for that week, and then resumption of the season midway through July. But we'll be back on the 1st of June, all being well, and we encourage you to check us out then if you remember about us. Otherwise, have a lovely time. And thank you very much, Ted. And thank you to all of our listeners and all of our special guests that we've had. And if you fancy going back and revisiting Slopes and Seb, just have a wee listen to those. If you're not into your retro gaming or into your YouTubes, then maybe you should have a listen, because it might get you into it. And other than that, we'll catch us all at a later date.
I'll just plug my tedsalmon.com one more time, which is where I do all my stuff. Audio podcasts and MeWe groups, all linked out from there. And if you want to buy me a coffee, you're very, very welcome to do so. You can do that at paypal.me/tedsalmon. Always welcome.
Yes, and you can get in touch with me by emailing gareth@techaddicts.uk. There's also Tech Addicts UK on X. I'm on X as well, at Gareth Miles. I have Mastodon, Blue Sky, and I have my garethmiles.com, so it's easy enough to get in touch with me. And I'm available if Amazon are looking to cast the new James Bond film. All right, take care now, and we'll catch you all in June.
Bye.